78.6 FM, positive vibes with Winsome. It is amazing, wonderful, brilliant. I don't know how many words I can use to describe to you how wonderful and happy I am to be back on the airwaves right here, right now with you. Welcome back, Saturday. Let me see what day today is, man. So, I always get my days mixed up. So today is Saturday. I know we're in January, but don't quote me on the day. The 25th of January. So we're at the end of the month. And it's been a wonderful month. I'm going to tell you, me personally, a lot of projects this month. We took my team, my day job, we took this month off to really focus on what we wanted to build for the rest of the year. So it was a lot of certifications, buying certain books, getting information, reaching out to people, connecting the dots in many different areas of our facilitations, right? Of our day job, of what we do. We go out and we educate, we encourage, and we inspire other people. So we spent time this month to really build up our arsenal of different ways to do that. Different ways to educate, different ways to encourage others, different ways to inspire people. Because you never know when you walk into those rooms, when you're teaching a course, who needs you. You never know when you're walking into that room and you got 1 hour with this team. And this team may have been going through some nightmarish scenarios, and you never know who on that team really needed the tips, the concepts, and the information that you brought to them that day. Right? So it's really important that we took this opportunity when we could over the last couple of weeks. And this is since the holiday break. We really kind of picked and choose very strategically what we taught, when we taught it, around the holiday breaks and around like military exercises and things of that nature, so we can focus back in and really pay attention to what our community needed. And with that being said, I want to give a shout out to all of my fellow development advisors throughout this region. They keep me motivated and energized throughout the week in our chat when we're talking to each other. We can't be right next to each other, but we're still a part of each other's community, right? We take care of each other, support each other where we can. And so for all of you guys, I don't want to go down and rattle down a list of them, but for all of the DAs, development advisors throughout the Pacific region, my brothers and sisters out here doing what we do, thank you for being you. I'm glad it's you. I was telling my teammate that sits right next to me last week, we hired him last year with my other teammate transitioning out to a new base, new job. He was transitioning in, and I had already known of this young man. And I told him last week, I said, you know what? I really want you to know I'm glad it's you. And sometimes people don't realize, why you say things. I'm always intentional when I say things such as that. Very intentional. And I wanted to tell him, I wanted him to hear it from me because I see the great things that my team and my teammates are doing. I see them out there grinding and out communicating, networking, building things, which makes my whole heart smile. It really does. Not sitting back and waiting for it to happen, going out there, getting it, building it, networking, creating, doing a great job, wonderful feedback, incredible vision. And I say all this because I needed him to hear it from me. I got a year left. Hey, I see you. I'm proud of you. And it doesn't matter where you came from before you got here. This team, this building, this center values everything you bring to the fight. And for a lot of us, we don't get that. We don't get that kind of feedback from the people we might really need it from. And who knows, maybe he didn't need to hear that day. But I'll tell you, he went into another meeting after I said this, a few minutes, maybe a couple of hours later. And he sits down with one of the wing leadership, one of our base leaders. And the base leader speaks on him. And he tells him in the same day how amazing one of his programs were, how his program is his favorite development program, and how amazing the folks around the room, I'll stop right there. The people around the room were chiming in about how he was collaborating and how he was bringing people into the fold and how wonderful of a job he was doing. So it echoed throughout that day. So I don't care what his days before, what his weeks before looked like. I really, really wanted him to know that he was seen, valued, and heard. And it was echoed the entire day. I couldn't have been more blessed to be a part of that for him. And I'm so happy that that happened. And this is an example. We're not talking about gratitude today. We're talking about appreciation. We're talking about making sure you're taking care of people. We're talking about your why. Why do you do what you do? What is your purpose for doing what you do? And it's crazy. We've talked about this for a few years now. Talk about purpose and your why, your purpose and your why. Me and Mr. G, we sat here when Mr. Garricky, Scott Garricky was here, and we would talk about this feverishly. We talk consistently. Like, we really wanted people to realize that once they self-identify, they're self-aware of why they do what they do, who they are, what moves them, what drives them, what motivates them to be the best version of them. When people are able to hone in on that and they can see it, it changes the way you approach everything. Your energy is different. Your motivation is different. It's not how people motivate you from around you. It's that intrinsic motivation, how you motivate yourself from within to do what you do. But you have to be able to channel that. So I say this because it's been a lot of amazing things that have happened. And I'll start there. I'm not going to go to my weekends, right? Why I've been off the show for a few weeks. But I'll talk about what's happening around me. So I get this email, and my brother James can verify this, and validate it. I sent this to him because it just threw me off. We move. And you guys know one of my favorite sayings, right? I know you can move, but can you be still? And I was moving this week. I mean, I'm building meetings, Zoom meetings, organizing coaches on one end, organizing with authors and facilitators and instructors on another end, trying to get things purchased for the center. I'm moving all week. And I mean, I'm waking up. Oh, and I'm doing a certification course. So I'm waking up at like 2 a.m. to do a class and then jumping into the things that I have to do, right, for a mission. And then I'm able to do the things that I want to do for anything, for everything. That includes my personal reading time. That includes my gym time. That includes, so I had to build it in this week. But watch this. I walk into my 2 to 5 certification class, and at 5:36 I'm in the office. And the very first email I see is from a young lady who used to work for me about 2.5, 3 years ago. And I remember kind of when she left, not hearing anything. So when you don't hear something from people when you leave, you don't know what kind of impact you had on that individual's life. You can't guess it. You can't assume. Maybe they'll remember it in a few years, or maybe you had no impact. You don't know. You can try your hardest to be there for people, but you don't know how that person received you until you get feedback from that individual. We didn't do an out processing conversation. My whole goal was to make sure she transitioned from this location to her next location, transition from this location to her next location, because she had some personal things happening here. And I wanted to make sure she got there and she had no issues getting there. So I wake up, I open this email, or I said wake up. I get there, I open this email, and she says, of course, my rank in the day job, Senior Cully. I'm really proud of everything you've been doing. I've tried to reach out to you on WhatsApp. I don't have WhatsApp anymore. I tried to reach out to you on Facebook, or I was looking for you on Facebook. And here's my number. I can really use some guidance. I really appreciated all of the guidance you gave me while I was there and the things you taught me. And I kind of really need you right now. Now I want you to do the math. This is 2.5 years, probably countless supervisors, leaders, managers in between me and her time. So for her to reach out to me, no matter how she left and rolled out and didn't reach back, but for her to roll out and to reach back to me 2.5 years, you can do one or two things. You can say, nah, I'm good. Good luck. Hey, good to hear from you. Peace. Take care. Keeping you in thoughts and prayer. Or you can say, hey, you took the time to reach out to me. You needed something. What is it? How can I help? And she had her phone number on there. So instead of responding on email and just leaving it there, I responded on the email, and then I text her. I said, if you have an iPhone or iMessage, hey, I'm texting you, just checking on you. What's up? How can I help? This was that morning. Yesterday morning, we spent a good hour. And she called me after she got off work, of course, different time zones. And she broke down everything she was going through and how she was feeling stagnant in her career and how she was kind of trying to refocus and couldn't really find herself. And everything she was saying, and I'm just going to say this because it breaks my heart. I hear this more often than none. Everything she was saying was wrapped around her job. I won't even call it a career because she's seeing it as a job, stagnant in my job, movement in my job, and I'm not seeing any progress in my job. This is how the conversation was going. I let her talk for maybe 20 minutes, didn't say anything. I was like, okay. And so then I had questions. My first question is, what kind of leader are you? Just asking because you told me that, and I saw it in your email that you're now the section chief. You're responsible for a team as one of the junior enlisted or senior or non-commissioned officers of that team. You're in charge of a team. What kind of leader are you? And it was a pause, like, skirt, right? Because there's two things that go wrong when we're in certain jobs. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in us, especially when we're in a leadership position, that we start managing them because we haven't figured out how to lead ourselves. You got to lead you before you can lead others. So what kind of leader are you? What do your airmen, what do your subordinates see when you walk in? How do they see you? And I use the example of my presence and when they saw me as a senior NCO when I was a master sergeant, how I would try to have a certain presence, energy, open door policy, all these things. What do your people see in you? And so she pauses. She goes, well, I think they know I want them to be really great and blah, blah, blah. I said, nah. See, I said, there's a problem right there. You're not sure of one of the most important aspects of what you do every day. We need you to lead. You have a position of leadership. And I said, that's the first question I have for you. That's it. Let's start there. Second question I have for you, right? What kind of leader are you? Second question is, what are you doing for you? Oh, yeah, well, I knocked out my degree like a year ago. And so, I just been relaxing, going to the gym and saving money. Okay. So what are you doing for you? You still haven't answered the question. And she go, well, I'm studying. I took time off of school so I can study for this next rank. So I can study for the next rank so then after that, I'm probably going to jump back in school. I bet. So what I'm hearing is ultimately you're just going through the motions right now and doing the doables. Huh? Listen to what you told me. You're working out, so I'm glad you're doing something physical. You're not in school, but you're studying for the job that you're already stressed out about, so that ties back into work. Saving money. Cool, I hope so. You're not going anywhere. You haven't been traveling. You haven't lived in the house. I hope your money's not going to random places. What do you have planned for you? What goals do you have for 2025? What vision do you have for yourself for this year so that you're not in the same place next year that you are right now as you stand? Yeah. These are some real questions. Who's asking you this? If there's nobody asking this, I'm so glad that you called me because these are the reasons why that email said you're so stressed about this job. Because you don't have an identity outside of this job. You have no idea who you are outside of what you do. And if you haven't heard this from me in a while, what you do is not who you are. And so if you're missing that piece, this is why you're sitting out here aimless right now, looking for somebody to save you, looking for someone to push a magic button. But the only person that's going to come and save you right now is you. So I don't know if I'm talking to anybody right now, but this was my conversation yesterday with one of my teammates that used to work for me a few years ago. I can't wait to tell you more about this and what else I told her. I'll talk to you soon, right after this break.
I should feel
78.6 FM, Positive Vibes with Winsome. We are back, and we are talking about some of the advice I gave yesterday to one of my former employees that was able to reach out from the United States and ask for some advice. I gave her an hour. Let's talk about it. I got an hour break. I'm gonna stop time for you. Turn my computer off, ignore my phone, close my door, locked it so nobody would come in. Usually when my team sees that my door is locked or closed, they know that I'm either in a coaching session or I'm in a serious conversation. Other people who don't know that, they'll still come and knock or probably try to get in. So I had to start locking my door, right? Anyway, my team knows better. So we talked to this young lady, doors closed, phones off. I'm going to tell you why that's important later. Phones ignored, screens are off. It's just me and the phone I'm present for. Letting her talk. And if you guys missed out on the last process or last piece of this conversation, she was telling me about the things she was dealing with at work. She was saying all these things, listing this stuff down at work. And I asked her some key questions. First one was, what kind of leader are you? Because your role at work requires you to lead. She didn't have a good answer for me. Right? And I asked, what are you doing for you? Because you're so wrapped up in all of this that I haven't heard one good thing about what's going on in your world. You haven't even mentioned anything. And you're there at a base where you're near family and everything. What's something that's going on in your life? What do you have planned for you? What are your goals? What's the vision you have for yourself for the rest of 2025? Who are you trying to be? She didn't have an answer for me. It was the same routine. Work, gym, eat, sleep. Work, gym, eat, sleep. You can do the song right. Work, gym, eat, sleep. It was the same thing over and over and over. She did say that her and her family had a cruise plan, which I thought was cool. You got a cruise plan. You're doing something. That's one thing. Out of 365 days, you're giving me 7 days that you're doing something unique and special for yourself. 365 days, that's 7. Let's keep it going. So I said, I need you to find your identity outside of your job. Why is that critical? Why is that crucial that people find their identity outside of their job? I'll tell you, as a career coach and a career counselor, 90% of the people who feel disconnected from their job and want to do something else also are disconnected from their own personal life. Or they're not connected. They don't have a personal world that ties in to and connects to what they do professionally. So they're kind of like, I'm just doing this because this is what I'm doing. I could track that because I know how many people get a major based on what they do, but that major, that degree has nothing to do with what they want to do or what they have planned in their vision for the next chapter. I talk to these people all the time, every day. I'm like, so you got a degree in underwater firefighting, but you want to take care of dogs. How does that go? How does that tie? I'm making up a degree, by the way. There's no such thing, hopefully, I don't know, as underwater firefighting. So we keep moving and we're conversations driving. So now I got her thinking, and she has to think about who she is outside of work. And I said, hey, you haven't told me anything yet. Cool, you got school and all these things out early. You got them knocked out the way, but there's still no drive. You haven't told me what motivates you intrinsically. When you wake up in the morning, what drives you? You're just going through a routine. You're going through an endless cycle, and it's burning you out. And when something happens that is adverse, some sort of painful experience, conversation, controversy, something happens, it's magnified because you're so heavily invested here. And people don't understand this. Yes, because if you're giving 90% of your energy to something and you don't have any kind of harmony in other places, you don't have any kind of life integration in other places where you have to a way to blow off that steam, a way to balance out your life in the way that your mind is focused, but you got 90% of your energy in something and something goes wrong. That is like running into a brick wall with full momentum. It just takes the steam under you because you don't have anything else to fall back from. And you've heard this before. You heard someone say, if you don't stand for anything, you will fall for anything. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And that's exactly what happens to these people. I talk to these folks all the time. You have to have an ID outside of work. One of my favorite movies, the Avengers movie, where someone tries to clown Iron Man and they're like, well, if you didn't have that suit, who would you be? And Iron Man's like, well, that's easy. Millionaire, philanthropist, entrepreneur. He rattles off all this playboy. He rattles off all these things that he is. He has an ID outside of putting on that suit. And I love the people who don't limit themselves to one thing. The people who have that growth mindset and who aren't limiting themselves that this is who I am, what I do, this is all of me. No. The most brilliant minds are the ones that don't limit themselves and that see beyond what's in front of them. I admire those who can look and see the finish line and reverse engineer. You've heard me talk about this all the time, but I am in awe about the people who don't see a finish line. They just see new chapters in their book. I think it's amazing to see, hey, what's your next chapter? Oh, let me tell you, well, my plan is, well, how are you getting there? This is what I'm doing. And then while I'm doing that, I'm also, oh my gosh, these people just had me wowed. Where do you find the time, the energy? You know what it is? They are intrinsically motivated. They are driven from within. They know in here and in here. And if you can't see me, I'm pointing to my mind and my heart. They know in those places what drives them, why they do what they do. They know it may not be for them. It may be for someone who loves them, who needs them to fight. It may be for someone who they promised, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to be this. And it may be a promise that they made to themselves. And people who are like me, you never want to break a promise that you make to yourself or to the people that you love, the people you care about, the people that matter to you. You want to maintain all focus to make sure you keep that promise. So I asked her while I'm talking to her, who are you? And you're not going to get to the bottom of all this in an hour, right? You're not going to. As she dived into her conversation and her story, it was a couple of little tidbits I told her, and I'll break those down to you with the time we have left in this segment, right? And one of the things I told her was control the controllables. 100%. Some of the things she was talking about were promotion, work, things that happen, people not seeing her, not feeling seen, valued, or heard. Cool. Control the controllables. You control what kind of leader you are. You control your effort and the things that you do. You control the time and the energy you put into certain things. You control how you prioritize your day. You control how you see where I'm going with this? These are the controllables. You can't control every conversation that's coming your way, situations, circumstances, especially with certain jobs. Things going to happen. But what is in your control is not what happens to you, is how you respond to it. She also mentioned that, yes, I am a leader of this group, one of the two, but I have one over me that kind of, when I'm not around, kind of throws her own information out there that kind of counters what I'm trying to do. Interesting. How do you manage that? I just, I kind of just tell the guys, hey, I know what she said, but I said, where's the communication with you and her? Well, sometimes I talk to her and I've tried it and she just kind of, it doesn't go in her head and she doesn't really listen. It goes out the other ear. I'm like, cool, but this is what you got to do. Control the controllables. You got to plan for this conversation, and we can practice it if you want to, but you got to plan for that conversation. You got to have that talk with her to eliminate the factors that are interrupting the flow and keeping you from having a smooth leadership grind and team together. So if there's something that she's doing that's countering your leadership, then you have to have that conversation because she's your leader. Ma'am, feedback goes up and down the chain. So I just want to see if I can talk to you about something. Skirt part 2. You have to try to get it out in 3 minutes. And I say 2 if you can. But your main reason for having this conversation, put it out there, especially if you know this person is someone who loses train of thought and goes in different directions or is quick to counter. So I said to get your immediate points out in the beginning, right? And try to keep that and let her and open it up for her. Open the space. It's not an argument. You're just trying to meet her where she is and say it in a way that you know she'll receive it. Let me show you what I mean by that. She's like, okay. I said, watch this. I said, ma'am, and we both have the same intent of leading this team. I think, the team is amazing. It's awesome. I really wanted to ask you if you can do me a favor. Sometimes I've noticed that the so-sos will have an answer for me or a way forward for me. But if I'm not around, the way forward from you is completely different. It just kind of seems like we're not on the same page or lock in step with our visions. And I want to see if we can find a way to be lockstep with visions, so we're not sending two completely different messages to our team. I don't even work for this lady. That's just a conversation I would have if I'm running into a problem where there's two different messages going from me and my leader. And I need to talk to my leader like, hey, bro, you want me to lead? This is supposed to be my role. I need you to help me help us. And that's a way to get it out quick. Bam. Now you open that space. You don't say nothing. And see what they have. You're going to get one or two different responses. Well, give me an example of what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. Have that ready. Or you might get a defensive response. I don't tell them anything different than what we've talked about. Blah, blah, blah. Cool. 100%. Have your response ready. And the response needs to be factual, not emotional. The response needs to be straight to the point. I understand. Just so an example of that would be, I told the airmen or the team that we need to be out by 5 p.m. When I was gone, you told the team that we're going to be here until whatever gets done, which kind of negates what I'm telling them, because I really wanted to kind of peel the onion back to see why we can't get out of here by 5 and figure out what it is that's keeping us beyond that time. Not even the real example, probably her situation at all, but just an example of the conversation you could be having. This is 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes in Winsome. I'm talking about a session I had yesterday. Teammate in the States was able to reach out to me for some guidance, for some advice. Two of the main things I told her is control the controllables. It's very important to stop focusing on the things that are outside of your control and focus on what is in your control. The next thing I told her is remember who you are. You have a voice, use it. If you see a disconnect, fight to reconnect it. If it's a communication gap, then that's going to be on you to fight for communication. It doesn't have to be a dirty fight. It just has to be a fight to link the person who you're trying to connect with to your vision, shared vision, lockstep. Whatever you say, they say. Whatever they say, you say. That means the team is receiving one message, not multiple. 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome. We'll be right back after this break. .6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome. I was sharing a session. I got permission to talk about a conversation I had earlier this week with a teammate who reached out from the United States with disconnection issues. She was putting way too much energy, weight, and time into work, job. So much so that she was disconnected from who she was as a person, as a human being. She had no vision for who she was supposed to fighting to become. All she saw was that job, that work, that mission. So my conversation with her was, and if you missed it, the last segment, I'll really quickly touch over it, talking about going back and controlling the controllables. Meaning stop focusing on all the things that are outside of your control and focus what is in your control. Some of the things she mentioned was communication errors, gaps, not feeling seen, valued, or heard, clawing and not knowing what direction she's clawing and climbing to. It was a lot of disconnects, right? I say you can't fix all those things, but there are areas that you can control, and that's how you show up, the effort you put in, what you sign your name to, whatever has your name on it looks like, what your leadership looks like, what kind of leader you are, how you're there for your people. Do they feel seen, valued, heard, recognized for their efforts? Are you finding the ways to do these things? That was what she and I talked about. Then the next one I told her about was remember who you are. You talk about communication issues, but when you was working for me, I don't ever remember you having a problem speaking up. And if that's become a problem, then we need to find your voice, right? And I gave a mock conversation prior to this segment, what I suggested to her, try and practice and prepare herself for. She could walk into that conversation ready, right? And if you missed it earlier, I also told her to find her identity outside of what she does. Because what she does is not who she is. And when you lose yourself in your work, especially if it's not a passion, it's not something that you're passionate about, it's something you do, and you can't figure out where you were, what your vision is, your path, your goals, your dreams for yourself are anymore, because you're 90 to 95% in here, and you're only giving yourself 10 to 5% for you. And she was in the same mode. Work, gym, sleep, work. Eat. Work, gym, eat, sleep. Work, gym, eat, sleep. That was her life. And I said, you got to give me more than that. You told me you're going on a cruise this summer after you test, which is what you're fighting for next position, next rank. But that's only 7 to 10 days out of 365. I need to know what your vision, what your dream, what your goals are for you. She couldn't tell me. So the next time we talk, that's her homework. I'm literally going to ask her those 3. I even wrote it. If you guys saw me reading notes from the conversation I had with her, I sent that to her in a text. I said, control the controllables, find your voice, and you need to find your ID outside of that job. What she does, she does. All I can do is guide, man. I'm an advisor. I give advice. In that session, I was trying to be a big brother because she found the time after 2.5 years to reach out via email and ask for help, ask for guidance. And if someone does that, no matter why, no matter how far along has gone by, I'm going to try to give the support that I can. 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsom's. Control the controllables. You guys have heard me say this many times throughout my time on the air, is block out the noise. There's going to be a lot of things in your life that are going on that has absolutely nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with your family. Nothing to do with your peace. Nothing to do with your money. Nothing to do with your life. Just is things happening. People will bring things to you. I've had to learn over the years, and I've had very great mentors or wonderful mentors who have reminded me that not everybody's problems are yours. You're not going to be the superhero in everybody's story. You got to understand how to pick your battles. Listen to what I'm telling you right now. That one hit me kind of hard when someone told me I'm not going to be the superhero in everybody's story that I'm in. Yo, my ego got in the way. Wait, time out. I'm the good guy. But depending on someone else's movie, you might not be. You might be the person in the way of them trying to achieve what they want to achieve. You might be the person that counters their energy, and you're not the good guy, the superhero in their story. You're just, villain. Oof, that one hurts with some people. Did you know you're the villain in someone's story right now? That really kind of makes you take a step back. I'm like, wait, I did some real reflecting on that after my mentor told me that. He said, bro, you try your hardest to be loving and be kind, but I guarantee you're the villain in somebody's story. No. I started thinking about like ex-girlfriends from before I got my stuff together. Oh, yeah, I was definitely a villain in her story, right? But all jokes aside, realistically, we can try as hard as we can, but you got to choose your battles. You're not going to save everyone. The first thing you have to do is have yourself together, because you can't be there for other people if you haven't figured out how to be there for yourself. I can't give you something I don't have. And if I don't have my stuff together, how can I give you advice on anything that I'm talking to you about? And there's a lot of people. Have you seen how many podcasters, how many, what are they called? Reality TV show actors and couples, how you peel the onion back a little bit and you realize that everything on the screen is fake. It's not real. They don't even get along, or the stuff that they're teaching and talking about on a podcast is not literally from them. It's from another source. And the way they live their life does not match what they're teaching. Everybody has a platform. The thing social media did was open up opportunities for people who have no need, no reason to be behind a microphone or behind a video camera to be there. And it's heartbreaking because a lot of the information that's going out there for some of these speakers is just like, wow, why would you say that? Like I listen sometimes, like, why would you say that? Who are you encouraging? Who are you inspiring? Who are you uplifting other than your own, the audience you're trying to trigger? For me, it's anyone. You can listen in from hopefully any walk of life, and the stories that we share connect. I'm just someone here trying to tell you right now that in all aspects of life, focus on controlling the things that are within your control. You got to let the other things play out. Otherwise, you're going to exhaust yourself on things that have nothing to do with your energy. And it's like swinging. Have you ever seen a boxer in the gym and they have like a time they got to just keep swinging? They got to do it for a minute. And when they're done, they're winded. They don't have energy for anything else. And that's what happens when you put energy towards things that don't have anything to do with you, that does not need to have your energy. You can be putting that somewhere else. Additionally, controlling the controllables and then finding your voice, remembering who you are. You've already survived your worst days. I tell you this all the time. You fought to be where you are. I was listening to another speaker, and I love some of these speakers who start talking about how rare our existence actually is. I think it's beautiful when we think about it, that the odds of you being here, no matter how many people are in the world, the odds of you in the skin you're in the movie that you're watching through your eyes right now, to have the energy, the spirit that is speaking life and being in the life that you have that exists, that light, the odds of this being you is unique in itself. I want you to listen to those speakers that start talking about what the odds are of being the person that you are, just existing. It's crazy. And so why aren't we taking advantage of every single day that we're gifted to be in existence? I know I do. And I'll talk about next weekend some of the things that I'm trying to do, because I have a list of things I want to do before this light goes out. And I know that tomorrow's not promised. And so when I see life like that, when I see every day like that, these opportunities, these exchanges mean something to me. So controlling the controllables, finding your voice, remembering who you are, speaking up when you just need to get it out there in a way that you can communicate it to someone, to meet them where they're at, to where they can receive it in the most positive way. Because we all want a win-win. At the end of the day, I know there's not going to be every conversation where it's going to be a win-win. Every situation doesn't have a win-win, but we fight for that. And if we're fighting for that, then you want everyone to have a good day. You want everyone to have a good experience with that interaction they had with you. So I'll say all that to say that's number 2, control the controllables. And then remember who you are. Find your voice. If you lost it along the way, or if you find yourself kind of easing off the gas pedal, find that energy to come back. You are a miracle. You are 101. We need your light. We need your energy. Stop hiding it. Bring it back to the front. And last but not least, when you're talking about controlling the controllables, remember who you are, finding your voice. The one thing I was telling you, again, all walks of life can appreciate these things, is when you walk in a door and somebody is telling you that not only do you need to do those other 2, but you need to know your identity, who you are. You need to know what you do outside of your career, your job, what drives you, what motivates you, what internally is your why to do what you do. Perfect example, and I hate to do this, but I'm going to. How many people do you think were lost when TikTok went away? And I'm gonna say that. That whole scenario, I won't talk about it. I'm not gonna go into it. That's not for me. It's not my energy. But I will tell you, I saw how many people were just broken because their whole everything was wrapped around that identity, who they created behind that camera for that platform. And I mean, everything was invested in that for a lot of people. Like, wow. And for a day or 2 days, however long that thing went away, those people were lost. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If that's not a glaring example of what it's like to give 95% of your life to something and not give yourself anything back, that's a perfect example. Those people had no idea who they were without TikTok. And that's crazy, but it's real. It just happened. We got to witness it. We got to see the videos, the crying, and the people with the signs. It was crazy over a social media site. Now, I'm a guy, remember, we grew up in my time without social media. So we got to see what life was like before everybody dancing and doing all these things on the camera for likes and views and getting paid to do that. Like movie stars. That's crazy, right? But these folks who had their whole lives wrapped around that TikTok identity, nine times out of 10 doesn't match who they are in real life. Those people were lost. So I challenge you, outside of your career, outside of your job, have an identity for yourself. Know who you are. And that way, you're not lost and you're not hitting the brick wall when something happens. Because if everything is wrapped up in this part of you, the smallest thing can get magnified into something so incredibly larger than it needs to be. I need you to take your life back at the end. And I always end with that, right? Take your life back. So, to my teammate, they called me from the United States. Much love. I sent you a text. If I don't hear from you from another 2 years, I hope that there's growth that happens in between. I hope that you find what you're looking for. I hope that you're able to, A, control your controllables and stop giving energy to things that don't deserve it. I hope that, B, you are honestly able to find your voice again and remember who you are. And lastly, I hope you find an identity outside of that job, because you have to know who you are. You have to know what you're fighting for. And at any point in time, just like with TikTok, those things can be taken away from you. You got to still have other things you're living for that you can pull from. 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes with Winsome. I was sharing a conversation. That was a 1 hour conversation I had with a teammate that I definitely want to share with you guys, because it covered down on some things I think we forget sometimes. And I show love to my team here, the PACAF Regional Development Advisors, all those guys out here trying to educate, encourage, and inspire individuals from different locations. Me here in Okinawa, and this is all the way up through Korea, through Guam, through northern Japan, Alaska, Hawaii. My team is out there. I love you guys, man. I'm really proud of everything you're doing, and I'm glad you're not getting caught up in all the shenanigans that's going on behind the scenes in the world. Controlling the controllables. We'll be right back after this. I had to grab a glass of water in between. I was running my mouth talking about that experience that I was losing my voice, man. I was getting it. Let's go. Hey, 78.6 FM, positive vibes with Winsome. I worked out. So I had a wonderful conversation this week with a Dr. Bardsley, who wrote the book Happier Next Year. And Dr. Bardsley, an amazing author. I really love the concepts that came from his book. We were talking about turning the book into a seminar, which he already teaches. So he's already out in the world teaching the concepts from this book. And one of the coolest concepts in there, I'm not going to break them all down, but one of my favorites was vigorous activity and how it is best for your brain. Like, there's 2 concepts on there out of the 8. There's 8 concepts really, right? But there's 2 out of them that stand out because they're repeated multiple times throughout the book. And it's kind of crazy how some of them connect to all the concepts, right? So these 2, they keep repeating themselves throughout the book. One of them is rest. So we talk about being at our most efficient, our maximum capacity throughout the day, being able to get the most out of your day. And I'm always trying to tell people to be the best version of them, fight for their existence, remember their why, all these other things that I can literally coach someone through, but I can't coach you on how to sleep. I don't do sleep hygiene. It's not my class, right? We have a Dr. Jerry Jerry Smith, who's going to be teaching on our location virtually in a few weeks on sleep hygiene. But the book really digs into how important rest is. And as it breaks it down and it talks about what your brain does while you're sleeping and the activity that still exists, but it's not about the brain activity. People thought it's about allowing your mind to rest. No, it's allowing you to rest. And people don't realize that. You go. I know you can move, but can you be still? I said this earlier. Just like I was still for my friend to understand where she was coming from after 2.5 years. So getting, and I believe it was suggested 6 to 9 or 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, whatever the ridiculous amount of hours you're supposed to get, is to help your brain be at its best the next day. And let me tell you, so we had a debate in my office. It was pretty cool. What's the best time to work out? So one of the arguments was, based on the commitment we have with our mission, it's best to work out at the end of the day so you can get everything you need to done, get out of there, and go. I love telling secrets that I find in these pages. One of the secrets that were talked about in these pages were that it's great and a wonderful idea to work out in the morning. I'm going to say why. And I'm going to break this down non-scientifically. I'm just going to give my layman's term version of this without looking at my notes. Okay, I'm going to give it a try. Bam, 'cause I'm teaching this. Let me shake this off. If you guys can see me, I'm shaking my hands off like I'm about to try something new. Ha-ta. All right, here we go. Now, when you wake up in the morning and you do a vigorous activity, meaning running, aerobic, anaerobic exercises that's raising your heart rate to your target heart rate, right? Raising the higher so that you can get your heart flowing. What happens is your brain is connecting branches, and these branches connect so that your mind is at its peak when you finish this workout for 16 hours after that, up to 16 hours. So imagine on days like for me that I have to come on the radio, I'm working out that morning because guess what? My brain capacity and brain function is at its peak for 16 hours. So when I come on here, I'm not just, yes, I'm talking about like I read his book and no, I'm in here giving you like energy. I can actually pull from something. And I thought that was amazing. And I didn't understand it. And I tested the theory by accident. So a week ago, I'm in Hokkaido. There's no gym. I can't work out. And I came back to work. That was intense all week. I was, like I told you guys earlier, waking up early from a training session, jumping right into work, making sure I had time to eat. But one of the things that I sacrificed this week was my gym routine, because the time that I'm normally working out is the time that I was in this training. And then when I'm getting off work, I'm wore out. I want to go home. Like I don't have nothing left. So I was sacrificing the gym this week, almost all week, except one day. And this day was yesterday. So yesterday I get up, and I'm gonna tell you too, it's kind of cruise control. Normally I'm up, dressed, motivation, music, whatever I'm listening to, gym, back, work, whatever. This week with no gym, it just kind of felt like I was just going through the motions. And then yesterday, I went to the gym. I did a 30-minute workout. Boom, 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 boom. 30 minutes. Then I had to go teach. And I'll tell you, just 100% honestly, my energy level from the days that I didn't work out to my energy and mental engagement from the day I did, morning I did work out, were completely different. And it wasn't, oh, you drink caffeine, you drink the right. I was drinking the same caffeine in the morning all week. It was the fact that I was able to connect dots while I'm speaking, able to pull from something that I hadn't been able to pull from earlier in the week. Like I had listened to a book the night before for a different class, but I still couldn't pull from the concepts the same way I was doing from a different book, different ways and different concepts on Thursday or Friday. It was a significant difference from my energy, my engagement level from the day I didn't work out to my energy and engagement level from the day I did. My energy was different. My brain capacity, my brain connectivity was different. It was wild. I was like, oh, wow, this book was right. So I say this to say, if you're going to work out in the morning, you're giving yourself a true boost. Yes, you might be dragging at the end of the day. So I'm going to keep that 100. At my age, if I work out early in the morning and I go to work, I'm usually really sleepy and tired, right? At least very tired when it's time to go home. And that kind of hits around 2 o'clock. So I'm going to have to read through the book, see what my 2 o'clock pivot is, because if I have to teach at 2 and I'm just exhausted or getting tired, how do I get that boost back, right? And I know that going to the gym at lunchtime, in between that day for a 2-a-day that day might do it, but I can't do that every day. And even though my brain capacity or my brain functionality might be at its peak, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be tired from being up so early, from doing a vigorous workout, from giving all that brain power throughout the day. I've earned it. So around 2 to 4 o'clock, I'm just like, whoa, I'm ready for a pillow, right? If I'm not going to go to sleep, I want to at least lay down, right? It's nap time. It's how I'm feeling. And there's some people that can go the entire day. Some teachers, some instructors, some, you think of different career fields that got to do 12-hour shifts. These are people that maintain that. They've trained their brain. They've trained their bodies to be able to do that for a long period of time. So I'm getting to understand more about my body and my mind as I explore through these books. So I encourage you. And Dr. Bardsley, thank you so much for your time this week. That was an amazing conversation. I can't wait to see what we're able to do here locally with the material. Thank you. And we're blessed to be in contact with you. But I challenge everyone else to learn more about what you're capable of. And this year, I'm really pulling for that. This is going to be my last year doing this gig when it comes to my day job. I really want to pull to make sure people understand what they are truly capable of. I want people to feel limitless because they felt limited. I'm ready for people to change the way that they see their lives, they see the world. I want people to feel like they are inspired to do the impossible. I want people to see their capacity differently. I want people to understand their emotional intelligence differently, mindset differently, understand how to master mindfulness. I want people to understand how to become a person of influence, no matter what rank, position, or seat they hold. I really want to challenge myself to read as much as I can, to listen to as many books, to build as much as I can. This year has the potential to be really fulfilling and amazing. And I can't wait to make sure you're a part of it. I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I'll see you next week, and I appreciate your time. Take care.